The metal corridors of the alien ship echoed with every step the human took. His name was Daniel, a lone explorer from Earth. And right now, he was a prisoner. Cold steel cuffs locked his hands together, and two tall alien guards pushed him forward. He did not know where they were taking him, but he kept walking with steady breath. Daniel had been captured after his small scout ship was pulled into their tractor beam. He could not fight the technology, so he surrendered without a struggle. Most humans would panic, but Daniel had always believed that fear never solved anything. Instead, he kept his mind calm, thinking of survival. The guards finally stopped in front of a giant door, glowing with strange blue symbols. It slid open with a hiss, revealing a dim chamber lit by red torches and glowing crystals. Inside, the air felt heavy, charged with a strange energy that pressed against his skin. The guard shoved him inside and stepped back, leaving him alone. Daniel straightened his posture, determined not to show weakness. A shadow moved at the far end of the chamber, tall and graceful. Then she appeared, the alien warrior who was clearly in command. She was unlike any being Daniel had ever seen. Her skin shimmered with silver patterns that shifted with the light. Her eyes glowed a sharp violet, locking onto him like a predator studying prey. Her figure was strong, curving with both elegance and danger. She wore armor that seemed molded to her body, both protective and intimidating. When she walked forward, each step echoed like thunder. Daniel realized this was not just an officer, this was a commander. She stopped only a few steps away, looking down at him with a faint smile. "You are human," she said, her voice smooth yet sharp. Daniel nodded calmly. "That's right." Her smile widened, but it was not warm, it was mocking. "Humans are small, weak, fragile," she whispered, circling him slowly. "Your kind survives only by luck, not by strength." Daniel stayed silent, letting her words pass over him like waves. He refused to give her the reaction she wanted. That annoyed her, and he noticed it. She moved closer, so close that he could feel the strange heat radiating from her body. Her alien beauty was undeniable, sharp features and graceful curves designed to intimidate. Her kind clearly used presence as a weapon. "Do you fear me, human?" she asked, her tone almost playful. Daniel looked straight into her glowing eyes and smiled. "No," he said simply. Her eyes narrowed. "No? You should. I could end you in a second." Daniel shrugged lightly. "Then why haven't you?" That question made her pause, if only for a second. Silence filled the chamber, broken only by the hum of the crystals on the wall. The alien warrior leaned closer, her voice a low whisper. "Most humans beg, they scream, they fall to their knees." Daniel tilted his head, still calm. "I'm not most humans," he replied. She laughed softly, but there was no real humor in it. She was trying to break him, but he remained steady. Her laughter faded, and her eyes searched his face. "You are strange," she admitted, almost reluctantly. Daniel then did something unexpected. He tilted his head, smiled even wider, and said, "You know what I really want right now?" The alien warrior raised an eyebrow, suspicious. "What is it?" she asked. Daniel took a step forward, as far as the cuffs allowed. "I want a hug," he said, his tone calm, almost casual. For a moment, time itself seemed to stop. The alien's face froze, her glowing eyes wide with disbelief. She blinked once, then twice, her lips parting in shock. "A hug," she repeated, as if the word was some kind of insult. "Yes," Daniel replied firmly, "a simple hug." The alien's voice grew sharper. "Are you mocking me, human?" But Daniel only shook his head. "No, I'm serious. You try to scare me, but I'd rather share kindness." The chamber fell into deep silence again. The alien commander did not know how to respond. Never in her long life had someone faced her intimidation with such disarming innocence. Her people used beauty, power, and presence to dominate others. But this human, this fragile creature, had asked for something no warrior ever expected. She narrowed her eyes, studying him even more closely. There was no fear in him, no trembling, no begging. Only that strange calmness, and that bold request. Daniel stood tall, waiting for her answer, his steady smile unbroken. And in that strange moment, the balance of power shifted. The alien warrior, so used to control, felt uncertain. The human had taken the first step in rewriting their story. The chamber felt colder than before, though nothing had changed in the room. The torches still burned, the crystals still glowed, the air still carried that heavy hum. But inside her chest, the alien warrior felt something unusual, something she never allowed doubt. This human had broken the script, and that disturbed her deeply. Her name was Serenia, commander of the Xylan Guard, trained since birth to bend others through fear. Her beauty was not a gift, but a weapon, sharpened over years of control and victories. She had silenced leaders, conquered warriors, and reduced enemies to trembling shadows. Yet now, here stood a human who did not bow, who did not break, who dared to ask for something as absurd as a hug. Serenia narrowed her violet eyes, circling him like a predator unsure of its prey. She leaned closer, her silver patterns glowing brighter across her skin. "Do you think this is a game, human?" she whispered, her voice carrying danger. Daniel shook his head calmly, his smile unchanged. "Not a game, just the truth." The simplicity of his words struck her harder than a blade. There was no deception, no fear, no attempt to manipulate, only truth. Her hand twitched at her side, claws flexing slightly as she considered ending this defiance. One strike and his strange defiance would vanish. One blow, and she would remind herself who she was. But something inside her refused to move, some strange hesitation she had never felt before. It was not weakness, it was curiosity, and that unsettled her even more. Daniel tilted his head, studying her face, not with fear, but with almost human warmth. "Why do you want me afraid?" he asked softly. The question hit deeper than she expected. Her people thrived on fear. It was their currency, their control, their shield. But why did this human question it so simply, as if fear itself was optional? She frowned, hiding the small crack forming in her armor. "You misunderstand," she said coldly. "Fear keeps order. It keeps the weak where they belong." Daniel chuckled lightly. "Or maybe it keeps you from seeing something better." Serenia stiffened, anger rising like fire in her chest. "Better," she hissed, her voice echoing across the chamber. "Do not speak of things you cannot understand." But Daniel did not flinch. His voice remained calm, steady. "I understand enough. I've seen fear. I've lived through it. But I've also seen what happens when people choose something else, when they choose kindness or trust or even a hug." The last word made her grind her teeth, her mind twisting with disbelief. This was not how interrogations went. This was not how prey behaved. Yet his words echoed inside her, unsettling, undeniable. She stepped back, tried to regain her composure, her armor clinking faintly. "You think kindness wins wars?" she demanded, her eyes blazing violet light. Daniel met her gaze without hesitation. "I think kindness wins people." That answer froze her in place. It was so simple, yet so alien to her world. Wars her people fought were endless. Enemies turned into corpses, victories counted in ashes. But she could not remember the last time anyone had tried to win her, the person behind the commander, not just the warrior. The silence between them stretched, heavy and tense. Her mind replayed his words again and again, like a song she could not silence. And then, against all reason, she felt something stir inside her chest. It was not fear, it was not anger, it was something she had long buried. Curiosity mixed with longing. She forced her voice steady. "Human, you play a dangerous game, one that could end your life in a breath." Daniel smiled gently, or maybe begin something new in the same breath. His words lingered like fire, soft but impossible to ignore. Serenia hated this, hated how easily he slipped past her defenses. No blade, no weapon, no intimidation, yet he pushed her further than any enemy ever had. Her mind raced, but she masked it with another smile, sharp and mocking. You are bold, Daniel of Earth, but boldness does not save the weak. Daniel tilted his head again, still calm. Then why am I still alive? The chamber grew quiet once more. Serena's claws flexed, but she did not strike. Her silence was the only answer he needed. For the first time, she wondered if fear was not the weapon she always believed. For the first time, she wondered if perhaps this fragile human held a strength her people had forgotten. And though she would not admit it, she feared that strength more than any weapon she had ever faced. The silence between them stretched like a blade ready to strike. Serena could feel the strange weight of his words circling her thoughts. This human was dangerous, not because of weapons or strength, but because of something far more unsettling. He did not fear her, and in a world built on fear that made him powerful. She narrowed her glowing violet eyes, her silver patterns pulsing brighter. If he wanted to play a different kind of game, she would test him. Very well, Daniel of Earth, she said, her voice cold yet tinged with challenge. You claim to stand without fear. Let us see how long you last. Her hand moved in a blur, and with a snap of her fingers, the cuffs on his wrist dissolved into sparks. Daniel rubbed his wrists free at last, but did not run, did not attack. Instead, he straightened his back and looked her in the eyes. His calmness unsettled her more than resistance ever could. Strike me, Serena ordered, her voice sharp like steel. Daniel raised an eyebrow. Why would I do that? Because if you do not, I will crush you where you stand, she replied, her voice low and dangerous. Daniel's smile remained, though softer now. I don't need to fight you. Her jaw tightened. No one had ever refused such a command before. She lunged forward, her hand slamming against his chest, pushing him back into the wall. The impact echoed through the chamber, the crystals flickering from the force. Daniel winced at the pressure, but still stood tall, his eyes steady on hers. I still want that hug, he said through clenched teeth. Her claws pressed against the wall beside his head, so close she could end him in an instant. Yet his words pierced deeper than any weapon. Why did he repeat that foolish request? Why did he insist on something so fragile? Serena growled, tried to ignite her anger. You mock me. Daniel shook his head slowly. No, I see you. That single sentence hit harder than her shove. For a moment, her hand froze, her heart pounding against her will. See her? No one saw her. Not Serena the person, only Serena the weapon, the commander, the terror of her enemies. But this human's gaze did not carry fear or lust or hatred. It carried something she had long forgotten, recognition. She shoved harder, trying to bury the tremor inside her. You will regret this weakness, she hissed, but her voice betrayed a crack. Daniel leaned closer, his words soft. Kindness isn't weakness, it's strength. Her chest tightened, her mind screaming against his words. Yet her heart whispered differently. She released him suddenly and stepped back, her armor clinking as she turned away. This was wrong. This was dangerous. She was supposed to break him, not question herself. She clenched her fists, trying to rebuild her mask. You will fight, human, or you will die, she declared, her voice echoing like thunder. Daniel did not move to attack. Instead, he walked toward her slowly. Every step he took was calm, deliberate, unshaken. She expected fear, hesitation, retreat, but he only closed the distance between them when he stood a breath away. He looked into her eyes again and whispered, or maybe you'll find out what a hug feels like. The words burned in her ears, shaking the foundation of everything she believed. She should have struck him down. She should have ended this ridiculous game. But instead, she found herself frozen, her heart pounding, her thoughts tangled. No one had ever dared to defy her this way, and no one had ever reached past the armor she wore. This human was not bending to her will. He was bending her will instead. The test she had planned was slipping out of her control. Her mission was simple: intimidate, dominate, remind humanity of their place. Yet now she wondered, perhaps for the first time, if humanity's strength was not in weapons, but in their refusal to abandon compassion. And that thought, more than his request, more than his defiance, terrified her the most. The chamber was still, but inside Serenia's heart there was no stillness. Her body stood tall, her armor gleaming under the crystal light, her expression sharp as ever. Yet behind her glowing violet eyes, something stirred that she had buried long ago. She hated it, hated that this human could awaken such thoughts with nothing but words. Daniel remained where he was, calm as a river, his eyes locked on hers. He made no move to attack, no sign of fear, no attempt to escape. Instead, he simply stood there, as if his presence alone was a challenge to her world. And somehow, that unsettled her more than any weapon could. Serenia turned away sharply, her long dark hair catching the light as she moved. She tried to focus on the walls, the crystals, anything except the human's gaze. But her mind betrayed her, replaying his words again and again. "I see you," he had said, and the echo of it struck deeper than she wanted to admit. No one saw her, not truly. Her own people only saw a weapon, a commander, a tool of fear. Even her victories, her scars, her strength, they were all just proof of her usefulness to the Empire. But this human, fragile, small, bound only moments ago, looked at her as if she was more than that. And that was dangerous, because it made her wonder if she wanted to be more. She clenched her fists, trying to crush the thought. Turning back to him, she forced her voice steady. "You speak as though you understand me, but you do not, human." Daniel tilted his head, his expression soft yet firm. "Maybe not everything, but I understand enough," he replied gently. "You hide behind strength, but I think you're tired of being feared." Her breath caught for a moment, though she masked it quickly with a scoff. "You think you know me? You are a prisoner, nothing more," she snapped. Daniel smiled faintly. Prisoners don't usually have conversations like this. The truth in his words made her pause again. Why was she even speaking with him? Why had she not silenced him like so many before? The answer whispered from deep inside her chest, but she pushed it away. Instead, she tried another weapon, mockery. "You are bold, Daniel. Too bold. You mistake kindness for strength, but kindness breaks, fear does not." Daniel shook his head slowly, his eyes never leaving hers. "Kindness doesn't break. Serenia, it heals." Her name on his lips startled her. She had not given it, yet he spoke it as if he already knew. It felt strange, almost intimate, and she hated how it stirred something warm inside her. "How do you know my name?" she demanded sharply. Daniel shrugged lightly. "I listened. Your guard spoke before they brought me in." Serenia clenched her teeth, angry at the slip, but also angry at herself for caring. She stepped closer again, her voice lowering, almost a whisper. "You're trying to unravel me, human, but you will fail." Daniel's smile softened, his tone calm and steady. "I don't want to unravel you. I just want to understand." Her chest tightened again, the words cutting through armor she thought unbreakable. Understand. No one had ever said that to her, not in all her years of command. They obeyed, they feared, they worshipped, but none tried to understand. And now, this human, this fragile being, offered it freely. Her mind fought against it, telling her this was weakness, a trick, a trap. But her heart whispered louder with every breath. What if it was real? What if this was the first time someone truly saw her? Serenia felt her claws curl at her sides, not from anger, but from unease. She was not supposed to feel this way. She was not supposed to want more. Daniel finally stepped closer, not threatening, not forceful, just steady. "I know you don't believe me yet," he said softly, "but fear is not the only path. You don't have to carry it forever." Serenia stared at him, her lips parting, but no words came. For the first time, she felt the walls inside her cracking, and she realized with sudden dread that this human might change her more than she ever intended. The chamber seemed smaller now, as if the walls themselves were leaning closer. Serenia stood frozen, her violet eyes fixed on the human who refused to bend. Every instinct told her to push him away, to reclaim control, to bury this strange pull in her chest. But every heartbeat told her something else, something she did not want to hear. Daniel took another slow step toward her, the sound of his boots soft against the stone floor. He was unarmed, vulnerable, yet his presence filled the room as though he carried an invisible strength. Serena's claws twitched at her side, torn between striking him down and letting him come closer. She had fought countless battles, faced warriors twice his size, but none had unsettled her like this fragile human. "You are dangerous," she said finally, her voice low and sharp. Daniel tilted his head slightly, a faint smile touching his lips. "Dangerous? Because I don't fear you. Because you make me think," she whispered before she could stop herself. The admission burned her throat, but it was too late to take it back. Daniel's eyes softened, his voice steady. "Maybe thinking isn't such a bad thing, Serena." The way he spoke her name again made her chest tighten. She wanted to snap at him, to tell him to stop, yet part of her wanted to hear it again. She turned away quickly, pacing to the edge of the chamber. "You know nothing of me, human. You know nothing of what I carry." Daniel's voice followed her, calm and unwavering. "Then tell me. Let me understand." Her steps faltered, her back stiffened. For a moment she wanted to scream at him, to silence him, but another part longed to answer. Her throat ached with words she had buried for years, words no one had ever asked to hear. But she forced them down, shaking her head. "You would not understand," she said, her tone harsher than she intended. Daniel walked toward her slowly, careful not to crowd her. "You might be surprised," he said gently. "I've seen fear, I've seen loss, I've seen what it does to people, but I've also seen how hope can rise even in the darkest places." His eyes held hers, unshaken, steady as ever. "And I think you've been carrying more than any one person should have to." Her chest rose and fell with sharp breaths, his words cutting through armor she thought was unbreakable. For years she had lived as a weapon, praised only for victories, valued only for power. No one asked if she was tired. No one asked if she was lonely. No one dared to care. And now this human stood before her, offering something she did not know how to accept. "You are strange," she whispered, her voice trembling despite her will. Daniel smiled softly. "Maybe, but maybe strange is exactly what you need." His calmness was infuriating, yet comforting. It made her want to strike him, and, at the same time, it made her want to listen. The silence grew heavy again, and Serena found herself searching for his eyes, even when she tried to look away. There was no fear in them, no mockery, only something warm and steady. And for the first time in her long life, she felt seen, not as a weapon, not as a commander, but as herself. "Why do you not fear me?" she finally asked, her voice breaking the silence. Daniel's answer came without hesitation, his tone calm but firm. "Because fear isn't what defines you, Serena. You're more than the mask you wear." The words hit her like a strike to the chest, leaving her breathless. She wanted to deny it, to call him a fool, but her heart refused to let the lie pass her lips. He took one more step, close enough that she could feel the warmth radiating from him. "I don't want to fight you," he said softly. "I don't want to fear you. I just want to understand you, maybe even trust you." The last word hung heavy in the air. Trust, something she had not known in years. Her violet eyes shimmered, the glow flickering as her emotions warred inside her. This was not how it was supposed to go. She was supposed to break him, not let him break her. Yet here she was, trembling in silence, not from weakness, but from the weight of his words. She could feel it, the cracks spreading in the walls she had built. And for the first time, she wondered if letting them fall might not be a curse, but a release. The chamber was silent, but inside Serena's chest there was a storm. Her claws curled and uncurled restlessly, her breath uneven though she tried to steady it. Daniel's words lingered in the air, pressing against her walls harder than any weapon. "Trust," he had said, a word she had not allowed herself to believe in for years. She turned sharply, her armor catching the crystal light. "You play a dangerous game, human," she hissed, though her voice cracked faintly. Daniel did not step back, his eyes steady, calm as always. Or maybe it's not a game at all, he answered softly. She wanted to strike him, to silence that voice, to erase the warmth spreading through her chest. But when she lifted her hand, she found it trembling, not with rage, but with something far more terrifying, hesitation. Her people never hesitated. Hesitation meant weakness. Weakness meant death. And yet here she stood, unable to strike one fragile human who should have been nothing to her. "Why do you keep asking for something so foolish?" she demanded, her tone sharp. Daniel smiled faintly. "Because it's not foolish, it's human." The simplicity of his answer cut through her again. "Sometimes the smallest things mean the most," he continued. "A hug isn't weakness. It's a reminder that no matter how far apart we are, we can still choose connection." Her violet eyes flickered, the glow pulsing with conflict. She wanted to laugh, to mock him, to call him naive. But instead, her chest tightened, her throat burned, and she realized she had no strength to deny it. His words made too much sense, and that scared her more than anything. Daniel stepped closer, slow and deliberate, his hands open at his sides. He was close enough now that she could feel his warmth. Her claws flexed, but she did not raise them. Instead, she stood frozen as he whispered, "Serena, I'm not here to fight you. I just want that hug." The sound of her name on his lips again stirred something inside her. No one said her name without fear or formality. No one dared to speak it so gently. It felt wrong and right all at once. Her breath quickened, her chest rising and falling as she stared at him. He waited, patient, steady, as though the universe itself could pause for this moment. Her body trembled. Her mind screamed at her to stop, but her heart whispered louder. She took a slow step forward, her armor brushing softly against his shirt. For the first time, she lowered her guard. And then, almost against her will, her arms moved, uncertain but real. She let him close the distance, and his arms wrapped around her. The hug was nothing like she imagined. It was not weakness, it was not loss of power. It was warmth, pure and simple, a feeling she had not known since childhood. Her walls cracked further, falling piece by piece as she stood in his arms. Her claws did not pierce him. Her strength did not crush him. Instead, she felt her own strength fading into something softer, something freer. Daniel's voice was soft against her ear. "See? Not so dangerous after all." Her throat tightened, but no sharp reply came. Instead, a shiver ran through her, not from fear, but from the strange relief of being held. She closed her eyes for just a moment and let herself feel it. The warmth, the safety, the connection. It was everything her people told her was weakness. And yet in this moment, it felt stronger than any victory she had ever known. Her body relaxed, her claws retracting fully, her breath slowing. She did not know how long she stood there, but for once time did not matter. When she finally pulled back slightly, her eyes met his again, and something inside her had changed. The violet glow had softened, her voice quieter, less like a weapon, more like a whisper. "Why do you keep doing this?" she asked, her tone uncertain, almost vulnerable. Daniel smiled warmly. "Because someone has to remind you that you're more than a mask." Her heart pounded, her mind torn, but she could not deny it anymore. This human had reached her in a way no warrior, no commander, no enemy ever had. And though she feared what it meant, part of her also longed to see where it would lead. The chamber no longer felt like a prison. The walls were the same, the crystals still glowed, the air still hummed with energy. But inside Serena, something had shifted so completely that even the silence felt different. She stood in front of Daniel, her arms still tingling from the warmth of the hug she had allowed. Her whole life had been built on strength, on fear, on the walls she had raised to keep the galaxy at a distance. Yet in a single moment, one human had cracked it all. She should have been furious, ashamed, broken, but instead she felt something new. It was fragile, unfamiliar, and terrifying, yet it carried a strange kind of freedom. Daniel smiled at her gently, the calmness in his eyes unchanged. You see, he said softly, you didn't lose anything by letting go. You found something. Her violet eyes shimmered, the glow softer now, as if reflecting her heart. I don't understand you, she admitted, her voice low, almost a whisper. Daniel tilted his head slightly. You don't have to, you just have to feel. The words settled over her like a cloak, heavy yet comforting. Serena had never been told to feel. She had been told to fight, to conquer, to win. But as she looked at him, standing so small compared to her, yet carrying such unshakable presence, she realized something frightening. She envied him, envied his freedom to live without the chains of fear. And for the first time, she wondered if she could have that too. Her claws retracted fully, her posture less like a commander and more like a person. She looked at him carefully, as though seeing him truly for the first time. You are not like the others, she said softly. Daniel chuckled lightly. That's what makes humans special, isn't it? The simple answer struck her deeper than any speech. She had seen countless species, faced warriors stronger than him, leaders wiser than him, creatures deadlier than him. But none of them carried this strange, unshakable power of connection. It was as though humans fought not with weapons, but with hearts. And she realized, with a shiver, that it might be the one strength her people had never understood. The silence stretched again, but this time it was not heavy. It was soft, almost gentle. Serena finally asked the question that had haunted her since he arrived. Why me? Daniel, why offer kindness to someone like me? Daniel's eyes held hers without hesitation, steady and true. Because no one else did, he said simply. And because you deserve to know you're more than a mask. Her chest tightened, her throat burned, but she did not fight it this time. For once, she let herself feel the weight of his words. She let herself believe, even if only for this moment, that maybe he was right. Her eyes softened, her voice quiet. You are either the bravest fool I've ever met, or the wisest. Daniel grinned, maybe both. The sound of her laugh surprised them both, small, almost broken, but real. It echoed in the chamber, not as a weapon, but as something alive, something free. She had not laughed without mockery in years, and the sound startled even her. Daniel smiled wider. See, you're already changing. Serena shook her head, but her lips curved faintly. Do not push your luck, human. Yet the sharpness in her tone had melted, leaving only warmth beneath it. For the first time, she no longer felt like a commander holding a prisoner. She felt like a person, standing with another person, and that was the most dangerous and the most wonderful truth of all. Together, they walked toward the chamber doors. The guards outside stiffened when they saw Serena's softened expression, but she waved them back. They obeyed, confused, unsure of what they had just witnessed. Serena glanced at Daniel, and for once, she did not care what her soldiers thought. Something inside her had shifted, and nothing could undo it. As the door slid open and the corridor stretched before them, Serena whispered to herself, perhaps fear is not the strongest weapon after all. Daniel glanced at her, his smile calm. I told you. Sometimes all it takes is a hug. She shook her head, amused, unsettled, and strangely hopeful all at once. And as they stepped forward together, Serena realized a truth she had never believed possible. This human had not only survived her test, he had changed her. And maybe, just maybe, he had changed the future of her people as well.